want to talk about
some more interesting stuff. Make us look cleverer.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. My goal is to try and make us a little bit more cleverer.
Which isn't even a word. That's a joke.
We're talking about making marketing plans and having a marketing strategy. I thought it'd be interesting to talk about things outside of your control that can impact it, and because I thought that'd be an interesting chat. Because then we can talk about real examples, like in the past, also some hypothetical examples, and we can hopefully put in some good case studies, maybe some bad case studies, and we just chat it through. I need to shut my WhatsApp because I can see Susanna messaging me. She's going to Italy for the long weekend, so I'm parenting alone, and she's giving me lots of
tips,
advice, tips or instructions. Right. One quote I thought was good for this was the old Mike Tyson one, which is everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, which I think is great for this kind of subject. And the other one that I thought was useful, it's an old, more of like a wartime quote, but it was like, plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. Because it's like, it's not just like, most plans don't go to plan, but just having that plan in place is what is the useful thing, if that makes sense. So that's the whole kind of point that we're talking about. It's like, you can put a plan in place and it's really important, but there will always be spanners in the works. So some of those things, I think, like, when I think about that, like, what could those spanner in the works be? The main ones are like big changes in technology, like economic, political stuff, which there's been a lot more of in recent years, and obviously right now as well. Just general change in customer behaviour, and also like what your competitors are doing. Because when you're making your own marketing plan for the year, you're obviously going to go like, right, these are the products we're going to do. This is our go-to-market strategy. This is like the big things that we need to improve on, and it's all obviously focused internally. But what we wanted to talk about today was focusing externally and how that can change a plan. Anywhere in particular you want to start?
Oh, maybe the changes in the social media landscape.
Yeah.
Nice and easy one.
Yeah, that's... I don't know if there's ever been a bigger... Maybe we just
apparently there's not. No, apparently there's not a bigger shift.
Yeah.
In updates and changes.
But like, when you said that, what were you thinking? Instagram? I was thinking about TikTok.
Well, TikTok got banned, and then, don't hold me to this, 2 or 3 days later, it was unbanned. But during that time, during that during that week process, Instagram made like some big changes on their platform, which slightly went unnoticed.
Like what?
Well, the major one is the fact that it's now not square, it's portrait.
Do you know why they did that?
I think the main reason they did that is because it now looks more like TikTok.
Really? Right, okay.
So it's basically the similar size to TikTok.
Because the feeds are basically more vertical, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because I've seen the difference, and to be fair, when feeds have updated to react to it, it looks quite nice. And actually, I think our PK Instagram, where we post some like visuals of, like, Jessica puts it together, like a bit of text and a visual and stuff. It actually, the more room is beneficial, I think. It gives us more room to play with, so I actually like it. But obviously the impact has been on...
past posts.
Yeah, all our past posts look terrible.
All the past posts look terrible. People that like to keep their feed, who have always worked in that square, the 1x1 or whatever it is. But the other thing is, it's not the same, which it baffles me, it's not the same size as Reels. So the grid vertical is not the same size as your Reel vertical. Like in my head, they would just keep it uniform. But I think that's the major one, is so it looks more like TikTok.
I guess the main thing is, like you said, is if you do post with your feed in mind, that's a big change.
Yeah.
Some people just post and it doesn't matter, but you know, especially like the first day or two, you know, you get this page where they purposely post things together to create a large image from the feed. That just got completely warped, didn't it?
Yeah.
So that's a really important change to be aware of.
The other one is, so they're increasing the reel length. Used to be 90 seconds, now it's 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You used to be able to post up to 10 minutes on a video, not a reel. They're scrapping videos and you can only post reels now. So like before, like you'd post a picture of you and your daughter and it would only be for you and your followers. They're pushing you down to having to create things, which is going to push into the algorithm and into the metaverse, which probably leads us on to another thing where, is it another change on these platforms is it such an important part to gain followers, or is it about engagement these days? Because everything they seem to be doing is to just drive you into just putting content into the world as opposed to into your little community.
Yeah, I think that's a really big shift. And if like trying to keep it on like the subject of like external factors that impact your marketing strategy, I think that's a huge one, because before a team would have sat down, they would have had a report being like, how many followers have we got? How are followers growing? Mm-hmm. They're like, whereas purely externally and what Meta have decided they want to push people towards is like subscribers are no longer that important, are they? And it's on Meta, but it's the same as on YouTube, and it's the same. To be fair, they're the main socials I use. Like I don't use TikTok. I'm assuming it's the same. That's a huge shift that people no longer. The goalposts completely changed. It's no longer about trying to get followers. It's just purely getting engagement.
Yeah, the metrics of success now is how many views something has, how many likes, how many comments. So you're right, it's a big shift, and maybe that's why they've pushed down the route of this Reels now to make you even more, to create more and more content. There's a new thing in the States that I've read about, haven't actually seen on my phone yet, but you can now tap into your followers' real views. So like, I haven't got it on mine yet, but I've read that you can like basically go into the Reels section, and I can have like 3 people, George, Marcus, Luke, and you can basically click on that and you can see what they've been interacting with.
Really?
It's blowing my mind that they're trying to like push us into this big metaverse of content, and it's not really about who you follow anymore. It's just about it's like channels. It's like TV channels. Where
but the thing is, talking about this as like changes, like external changes, like this is knowing that Meta was going to change the size of the post was. Unless like you were properly in the know, most people didn't know about that.
No.
But then in terms of being pushed into like less about subscribers, more about engagement, that's been happening. That's been shifting for years. Like Instagram, and it was more like Facebook, where you would follow your friends and see their posts, and it would be literally like who posted yesterday, who posted before that, and it would be like chronological, wouldn't it?
Yep.
And then you get to the bottom of your feed. And then that's been slowly shifting away from following friends to like then the algorithm suggesting things to you. So, and that was obvious. Like it may just be hindsight helping here, but it was obvious that eventually subscribers are going to be less useful, because if you watch a few videos of somebody that you like, you just know that the algorithm's going to keep feeding you that. So, like in terms of what does a marketing team do with that? Then I mean, it's quite obvious. It's like just focus on engagement, but is there anything else that they need to consider?
I think there's a need for followers though. Just to caveat that, I think social proof is still important. If you're trying to sell someone a black hoodie and you've only got 50 followers versus someone that's got 1 million followers, there's still a need. But then the argument is, do you actually click through to someone's profile now? If you see someone trying to sell the jumper, is it straight to the website? So
yeah, personally, I'd look for the social proof.
I think there's still an element of that, but that would come in hand when you're building engagement. If you get 1 million views, people are going to want to follow you. So I can't remember what your question was now.
What people can do to react to it, really.
I think it's just putting out more content. Video has never been more important. The thing I was thinking before this chat is like, it feels like Reels have never been more important to test what you can then use for ads.
Yeah.
So now like you can go up to 3 minutes, just test as much as possible. The other feature that Instagram have brought out is called trial Reels. So basically, if you've got 1 million, if you're like a Nike or if you're a Gore Wear or whatever, and you want to test a reel, it's called Test Reels, and you do it, and it only goes out to people that don't follow you.
Interesting.
So you can test things without your audience seeing it, get a gauge whether or not the wider population like it, the wider metaverse likes it, and if they do, you can then push it out to your following. So I think that's a big step in testing, and that also will help you test ads.
Yeah.
So if you want to do a shoot for Nike and you want to test whether or not they want to be in like urban London or on a beach in Spain for a new shoe category, you could potentially test that to people that don't know Nike, see what the engagement is, and go, actually everyone likes it, the urban setting, okay, let's do a big shoot and let's pump it out to our whole community. So yeah, they're allowing testing within the app, which is quite cool. So I think that will allow more marketeers, more brands to test more. But it's never been more important for video. So video, when it comes to ads, is still one of the biggest drivers in performance, and it's showing because Instagram want you to create videos now. They want you to watch videos. It's coming apparent.
Yeah, that's really interesting about the real testing thing. I think that's an interesting one.
The other one is around, another thing they've changed is around their lessening restrictions of what you speak about, which is a really interesting one. I don't know if that changes things from a marketing landscape, but from an organic output and what people can talk about on Instagram, they're loosening the restrictions. So before, if you said something around politics, it would only go to your following, whereas now I think they're loosening it. I don't know how I feel about that, but
no, it's the same as on YouTube as well. Everything is just, people are getting banned for less. Like before, videos would get like blacklisted for like mentioning something that's even slightly controversial, whereas now like people are getting away with a lot more. I think that's just a general shift, and like, I mean, we're not really political experts, are we? But like, based on what I do know about it, I don't think the changes that these platforms have been made in would have happened if the other side won in America. Like they're purely just chasing the money and going like, okay, what does Trump want? Let's lean into what he's asking for.
But in the past, Meta have come out and stated that they've been biased in the past. Rightly or wrongly, they've been biased in their restrictions. So now freedom of speech, rightly or wrongly, will allow there to be people to be able to speak their mind. There's going to be a huge negative part of that. That's the worrying thing for like advertisers. So for example, I don't know many sort of mainstream brands who are still like would be going after like Twitter or X as their kind of as like a marketing channel, because there's just too much negativity around it. Wherever your political views lie, it's just dangerous ground for a brand, isn't it, to be advertising on there, especially when he's just going off on one Elon, isn't he? So like, I don't think Meta would go that far, but surely that's a consideration for like certain brands now. Is like, if Meta does become more of a thing, is free speech is fine. The problem is the negative stuff that comes with free speech, and the type of groups that are passionate about free speech is the type of groups that brands don't really want to be associated with. So like, I don't know, that's a really interesting thing that's changing like as we speak, isn't it? And it will impact things, and marketing teams have got to be paying attention to that, and that's really, it's like completely out of our control of what's going to happen there. How you react to that. There's rumours that the US want to buy TikTok, and that's why they're not comfortable with China having the data they do in the huge population of the US. So that's what this is all around. But I think that's a really good case study though, because TikTok has been such like a sensation and blown up and like huge for users, huge for brands. There's been brands that have been started on TikTok and gone wild on TikTok, and they're all just like business owners or founders will be making a lot of money from their businesses purely through TikTok. So those ones have had the rug pulled beneath them. Like, it got banned, it's come back, it might still get banned. God, imagine if you was a content creator or a brand that you've got, because people overnight got millions of followers, millions of views. It was cheap to just get super loads of impressions on TikTok. Overnight banned. We've had this in the past. I think we did an old chat around what if Meta fell yesterday or whatever. And it's never been more important just to collect first party data. And the fact that email's been around for multiple years, multiple decades now, they can't restrict email. They can't restrict personal emails. That is your addresses. That's your insurance against any of these platforms. Like Elon Musk goes even more wild, and like Twitter and X goes down, or Zuckerberg goes, I don't know, whatever happens like with these social media platforms, having a CRM email list that you own is your insurance, isn't it? Yeah. Even if you're not using it right now, collecting the right data from your customers, off your community, for the future. If it's for anything, it's just for the future. The interesting thing, I don't know how relevant it is, but it's interesting, I think, is that a lot of music artists are talking about this now, because the Instagram feed is like not showing their stuff as much, and they're basically struggling. And then it's James Blake, he's been really outspoken about it. He basically went to his record label and was like, oh, can you give me my email list? I need to like start talking to my audience directly. And they turned around and was like, no, we own it. And then like pulled up an old contract that basically says like, your email list is like ours, basically. So he's now like doing loads of posts and trying to like educate younger artists in this sort of stuff.
that's it. Like he's got no way of talking to his audience because this label owns it. Which, I mean, he signed it, so it's like they're not doing anything wrong. But it's quite a
emails. Talking to people digitally through emails, talking to people through SMS. It doesn't have to be like a boring sale, but having that information, even like people's home addresses, like I'm speaking to people directly to their door. Doesn't have to be every day, doesn't have to be every month, but having that type of information, especially with the way that these platforms could evolve and change and lose things overnight, always going to have someone's always got to have somewhere to live, someone's got to always have a phone number, someone's always going to have an email. Obviously things will change over time, but addresses won't.
No.
Addresses won't, will they? Like maybe emails will change, like maybe in our lifetime of working we might no longer have an email.
Yeah, or it'd be like
but you're always going to have an address.
Yeah, it might be like a number instead, or like a, I don't know, like a QR code on your front door or something. But yeah, there's going to be something that locates you. And we've said this, people must get bored of us saying this, but it's like, there's nothing like getting something good and tailored through your letterbox onto your doorstep, sit there like looking for a little leaflet.
I'd like to know that. I'd like to know what the evolution of postcodes and doors, and what is it in the US? Is it different? Is it it's still addresses, isn't it? It's always addresses.
Yeah, they have like zip codes, like we have
zip codes, postcodes. Yeah. Like, what was the evolution of that? Will it change? Because if it doesn't, like that's a big part of data that you should be collecting on your clients.
I feel like I know something interesting about this, like the history of it. I feel like I know something interesting, but I've completely forgotten it.
We can pop it above you on the video.
Something slightly interesting is that, obviously outside pubs hanging down, they have the pub sign that will be like a fighting chicken, something, right? And the pub will be called the Fighting Cock. Like the reason the sign comes out with a picture is because back in the day, majority of people couldn't read, so people would, from the picture, would know, okay, that's the Fighting Cock, or that's the Red Lion, or that's the
Prospect Knight.
That's the Peak, yeah. So that's kind of relevant.
What would ours be if it was Prospect Knight? You'd have a knight on a horse. And what does Prospect? How can you icon Prospect?
You could maybe do like the digging for gold, maybe. That was called prospecting, wasn't it?
Yeah, like shimmying the gold next to Prospect with like a gold knight.
Yeah.
Then people would think we'd call Gold Knight. Not bad name.
That's why we've got to rebrand to pub name. Slight detour there, but I do think that was a really good, interesting tangent that we went off on, because if something does happen, big external things that happen, is like social media, the rules change and they disappear or whatever. Having the way to react to that is by having your own first party data, isn't it?
Yeah, goes without saying these days. We're not even talking about email automation and how you're collecting people. It's just, or like how you're getting more sales. That all comes as a given, but it's just like generally collecting first party data of your customers or community has always been important, and it still is.
What if, like, you set your plan for the year, you're really confident with like the products you're launching, your marketing strategy, your agencies, your budgets, all of this stuff you're sort of happy with, and then suddenly your competitors do something like quite disruptive, like they launch a really good product or they suddenly drop all their prices. Like, that's something that we see impacting our client performance a lot. Is obviously if you're appearing on the results page with up against your competitors who've suddenly like much cheaper, or even different retailers selling your products for much cheaper, that's going to be a huge external factor that can impact your performance. So I thought we'd talk about that for a bit. Like, how do you react to that? How would you react to shifting pricing from competitors?
The thing that brands need to remember is it's a race to the bottom if you just fight fire with discount versus discount. So I think brands that discount tastefully are the ones that will win in the long term. So I think like trying to hold that full price point is super important, even at times when maybe your competitors are discounting. That being said, there is a need for certain times to discount. So I suppose if you're both selling black jumpers, one's Adidas, one's Nike have got a 50% off, Adidas haven't, fight fire with fire, it's the race to the bottom. So what do? Well,
in that case, I'd rather pay a little bit more and have Nike, because personally, I'd rather have a Nike logo on my chest than an Adidas one.
This is where it comes down to brand and value.
Exactly, yeah.
So like, fighting fire with fire isn't the way to go. Building brand and value through content, through educating the audience of why yours is 50% more, is the way that you should go.
Yeah, and if we dig into that, and like my personal example is like, I associate Nike with running more, and that's Adidas do just as much running gear. I imagine the same percentage of their gear is running, but like Nike have put a lot of effort into advertising running, haven't they? Like they've got the Nike running app, like they do run clubs, like just the advertising they do for their new running trainers is really cool, like the Pegasus one. So like over time, they've just put a lot of effort into building that brand affinity with me as like they're a cool running brand.
Yeah,
Adidas haven't quite achieved that in the same way.
But yeah, it's fight. Don't fight fire with fire. Always come back to the brand. Come back to what the value is. There's a need for discounting in certain seasonal changes, or trying to remove old stock, or trying to tap into new customers or new audiences at certain times. But it's never a panic. Stay strong to what you've planned throughout that year.
Yeah, and double down on what it is what makes you stand out.
Yeah.
Because if it is really like, if you do generally have like points that make you better and stronger, just double down on that. Even if it's like, because sometimes we're competing against Amazon, they're selling the exact same product, and Amazon's really hard to compete against because the shipping's good, your card details are saved, the returns are easy. It's like there's a lot, but in that case, it might be that you focus on like loyalty programs, or just feeling part of the community, or like just that building that drive in somebody to want to buy directly from you rather than Amazon is like where to focus on, I think.
Yeah.
I think like the only example when if you genuinely can do things that reduce the cost of your product and then you can reduce price, that probably seems like a logical thing to do. But if you're purely reducing price just to keep up with your competitors, that's not going to end well, is it?
No, and it doesn't look well. Like people that start to see that, the main negative of a sale is people will never buy full price. So there's a brand that I really like. The jumper was £100. It's now £45, and it's been going down over the weeks. And I know there's probably another step to go.
Yeah,
I'm never buying that jumper for £100. I'm never booking that holiday for full price. I'm never buying that drink, wherever it may be, knowing that the pattern of that brand will offer me discounts. And that's what brands fall in the trap of, is panic, discount, and over the longer game, it just has such a negative impact on selling things at full price.
Yeah, it's funny when I feel like when people, I don't know the right way to say this, but it's like it's almost a bit insecure to just reduce your prices because maybe you don't believe in your product enough.
Yeah.
But there's so many brands that do it so well, and like you don't buy it because it's cheap, or you don't. You know, it's like Apple, for example. Like we've got MacBooks, or I think they're great, or like iPhones, but I wouldn't consider getting another phone. I've never used a Samsung. It might be better.
Google?
No, or the Google. Susanna's got a Google one. She loves it, but I'm so loyal to Apple because of all the marketing that I've done over the years that I'll just buy it. Like, no, I've got a pair of. I've bought some running gear from Caramore. You know the Caramore brand. It's like a Shop Direct brand. I think I bought it years ago. It's lasted. Mm-hmm. I've worn it for so many years, and it's still perfectly good. But I would still go and buy Nike stuff first. Do you know what I mean? And it's more expensive.
Brand value is so important.
So you don't have to, if your competitors, I guess the summary is like, if your competitors start dropping their prices, the first reaction shouldn't be, we need to drop ours as well. No. Double down on the brand value, which equally is what's going to help you get more customers as well.
Yeah, diving into price point is another complete different subject, because if you're literally triple the cost of someone else and it's pretty much the same, there's a bigger conversation. But no, building brand over time, it's the long game. For these smaller startup brands, it's more difficult to cut through. But then, using Nike as this example, they're in a really bad state at the moment. Nike, from all of these competitors, like On Running, Hoka, all of these different brands have like really come up, and there's a lot of competition now. So I'm really interested to see what Nike does, because they're a sleeping giant. They're arguably the biggest sports brand in the world. but there's so much more competition. But look at On Running, they rarely do discounts.
No.
They've got, funny enough, they've got one on at the minute, but we are in January, but like Lululemon, all of these brands, they're not cheap. Like to buy a Lululemon t-shirt and bottoms, it's close to £200, like £150, £200. Like it's not, and people are buying it. On Running, their running shoes are 170, 160. Like these are brands that you see everyone wearing. So it's not always about price point. It's all about positioning the brand. I think that's the important part to this.
I mean, I believe the brand gives you like a value in community.
Yeah.
It's like, let's say, like if you come into a running club and you wear like some Reebok,
Yeah.
they're gonna kind of like judge you unconsciously.
Yeah.
If you, unless everyone is wearing On, they'll be like, oh, he's wearing On, so it's like they're more likely.
So why is that though? Yeah, no, you're right. It's like it is 100% that, but like that's where it just comes down to building brand. It has to be around like the reason everyone. If you look at an On shoe, arguably I love them. I really want a pair, but the Cloud ones, they're pretty ugly when you first see them. They've got like funny shapes in them, like. But everyone, and now I'm like, fuck, they look nice. Like, really like
they're not typically attractive.
They're not a typical attractive shoe. They were made for comfort. They were made to give you a better running experience. But like George just mentioned, now you see people in it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's not like the most. Yeah, I don't know. We're going down a bit of a tangent, but
No, it is now. But if you look around here, like when we run around Victoria Park, there's people running around there, and it looks like they're wearing about 200 quid's worth of gear just to run around
crazy.
the park. That's or you just get old like me. I'll just wear anything now. I don't care when I run. But
No, but you'd still
quick fire questions.
bring it back.
Reece doesn't know what they are. Apart from this first one that we just recorded, and he wanted to do again. What's one consumer trend you think marketers should watch this year?
It's not a new one, but I just think in 2025 it's going to continue to increase the amount of people that continue to buy direct from people, direct to consumer, direct to the brand.
Yeah.
The more conversations we're having, it's not going away. It baffles me how some of these bigger brands still aren't relying on it. So I think, yeah, for me, it's just going to continue to grow.
Good. What's the biggest external factor you think marketers overlook?
Do you want to answer what I answer?
Yeah, I can do.
I you know what? I don't know if this is answered right. I think the biggest one that people overlook, or one that we can't potentially change, is disposable cash. I think the way that the world is and changes all the time. Majority of things that we're selling or brands are trying to sell is when people have disposable cash. I think that's one external thing that we can never change.
Yeah, that's a good one. Should brands focus more on their strengths or competitors' weaknesses?
Strengths all day long.
Yeah,
I think it's always good to know what the competition's doing and have an eye on trends or patterns, but ultimately focus on the goal in hand and just drive for that.
Yeah, I agree. We do the same with our own marketing and our own stuff, isn't it? It's like we're very much focused internally on what we do well, and rather than talking down on other agencies.
Have a plan, stick to the plan, and just go for it. Sky's the limit, baby.
Yeah, cool. There's a couple of other questions that are not that.
While I'm on a roll.
What's this one actually? What's one outdated marketing strategy you still see brands holding on to?
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
That isn't though, because it still makes a huge difference. But hashtags.
Yes, good one.
Run it back. Hashtags. In my opinion, I might be well wrong. I don't know everything, but they're dead.
Yeah, I don't know what difference they make.
Hashtag that.
Hashtags are dead.
But that's not really a brand thing, that's a consumer thing. Some brands do it, but like, yeah, hashtags are dead. Another thing that's dead, this might be a bit outspoken, but LinkedIn business pages.
Ours is getting crickets.
Yeah, like and subscribe. I just find, if anyone, like, we are marketeers, we run a marketing agency, predominantly performance and brand creative, so not really the organic side, but someone reach out if they know a secret source for a business LinkedIn page, not individual. But I just never seen any. Even if I look at...
No, they don't.
I've never seen one, even the likes of Nike, it just gets air pie.
No, we need to keep posting from ours just to keep up the presence, but then we need to just...
It's an interesting one.
We need to look at our profiles for engagement, and that's why you get so many... I mean, LinkedIn's a hard one because there's so much trash on there. There is some good stuff in between it, but generally it's rough, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to scroll through probably about 25 posts to get one good one, maybe. Do you know what I mean? And then that's why you go on it, because you do get good stuff on it. Like,
I'd love them to really work on improving LinkedIn. I don't know how you do it, but I feel like it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. But there's a blurred line between all the other platforms now and how you promote businesses across them. And it feels like LinkedIn's moving into that.
It is, yeah. Like, it's got a video reels section now.
Yeah.
But then I like that because I'm going on it. I get business content on my Instagram as well, but I also get football, beer, running, like loads of different stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas I like going on LinkedIn because I know that I'm going to get business content.
Yeah.
And video content is actually filtering out some of the rubbish because it's harder to produce, so you get less people just spurting out rubbish.
Yeah. It's a fine line, but yeah, someone let me know. Never seen it work. Probably wrong.
Yeah.
Any more?
I think that was it. What's one tool or platform you think will revolutionise marketing this year? I feel like you can only answer AI to that, but that's everybody's answer. Isn't it?
Assistant.
Yeah.
X.
There's so many other ones that we use and other businesses use. None of them are new, but yeah.
Not new, but like what you said about direct to consumer, it's probably like Shopify is going to continue growing.
Yeah, Shopify's huge. Shout out to Shopify. We're doing a webinar with them next month. Shopify's huge.
But this was let's wrap up the end of our first. We've recorded quite a few videos like this, but this is the first time we've tried to make an effort to organise it. I think
Marcus has put his new jumper on.
that's a joke because it's a really old jumper.
You might have seen it in our content.
It's an original PK.
Vintage.
Yeah, let's wrap it up there if anyone's made it to the end.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Follow the journey.
Hashtag big.
Hashtag all the way up.
Wow.